We'll move on to our next speaker. Mindi, thank you so much for joining us today. Here you go.
Thank you, Christine. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Mindi Weik. I am a software engineer at Sierra Interactive. It's a small real estate SaaS company. And today we're going to talk about the importance of OpenTelemetry, how to see the invisible. Show of hands, who likes shiny, new, fun stuff? Yeah, that's what I thought. At work, I had the luxury of working on brand new shiny projects, and it's been fun. It's all well and good until you don't realize you don't have something that you need. For instance, has anyone tried to debug without logs? A few people. It's not fun. Debugging without logs is like being a detective at a crime scene where someone has already cleaned up all the evidence. I was still trying to put together what had happened, but without witnesses or fingerprints or a murder weapon. I was left interviewing unreliable sources like the platform that we have that connects to my API service. And I was reconstructing the scene by looking at our code behavior. And I was also relying on gut instincts and wild guesses. It's frustrating. It's not impossible, but it's frustrating, time consuming, and it's prone to false leads. And that's where OpenTelemetry and, that's where observability and telemetry come in. So I'm going to do a very high level overview. So essentially, telemetry is a collection of data. For this purposes, this at least. Observability then is our window into telemetry. It allows us to create charts and graphs to make sense of that data and then monitor and see what's going on within our application. Telemetry essentially helps us to see what's happening inside of our application while it's running. So performance, behavior, errors, things like that. And without telemetry, we are essentially deploying our app out into the ether and hoping that it works. So telemetry then also, going back to the window analogy, is sort of like a car dashboard. It shows you, fuel level, speed, engine warnings, things like that. But in our case, it's with code. Now we can see what was previously invisible. So what can we see? Logs are essentially text records of events. So we log all the important things that happen. For instance, in my API service, we reach out to a third-party vendor. And anytime we interact with that resource, we log it. So we create a resource, we update a resource, delete it. And when something goes wrong, which does happen, we log the errors too. Metrics are essentially numbers to track performance. It's really hard to measure something without numbers. So it's very helpful to start off by knowing what you want to measure and to have a baseline of performance so that you know whether or not your application is performing well. And then traces are essentially maps of API requests. In my case, it's an API request. And this is where I've had the most fun working with and exploring the data that we get from OpenTelemetry, because you can see every single step of the process. It is so cool. You can see every single step, as I mentioned, how long each step took, and then whether or not you're connecting to an internal or external service. It's just really fun. In this way, we are now able to make adjustments to increase our performance because we now, again, can see the previously invisible bottlenecks. You can also think about this like a security camera for your application. We can rewind what happened and then catch the invisible issues in the act. In this way, OpenTelemetry ties together all of these things, making it easier to monitor and debug our applications. So OpenTelemetry itself is an open source framework that is used for collecting and then exporting and transmitting your telemetry data. It's really handy because it works with a wide variety of coding languages and frameworks. And it essentially, the main goal of OpenTelemetry, because it's open source, is to standardize that observability data so that we can all speak the same language. And it then sends it to your observability tool of choice. And in our case, we use Azure Application Insights and an Azure Managed Grafana instance, I have to say that. But you can also use any of these that I have on the screen as well. And the benefit of this is that you're not locked into using one tool or vendor. That's the benefit of open source. So for a very oversimplified flow, you start off with instrumentation, where you take code and you take libraries and you put it into your application, which helps you to collect the data. It sends it to this collector. It's this very vague thing I've been learning about. Then the SDK or software developer kit then gathers and organizes all of that data. And then the exporter then, of course, exports that data to your observability tool of choice, Datadog, Grafana, Splunk. Oh, hold on, one more quick thing. Many languages and frameworks work for this, but one of the other cool things about that is that there are a lot of auto instrumentation tools out there. So for instance, in my project, we use, it's a Node project, so we use Node auto instrumentation, which did a lot of the setup work for us, so it's even easier. And to wrap up, OpenTelemetry is free and open source. It is helpful for debugging, monitoring your application for reliability and performance, and it's quickly becoming the industry standard to understand what is happening within your application. So the next time you try to build something, you could try implementing OpenTelemetry to take a look at your logs, metrics, and traces, and you might just give yourself some superpowers to see the invisible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindi.